guys, it is Thursday and I'm heading on down to work on the inspector's car, and I was actually supposed to be working on my semi today, but it has rained for days here. This place is a mud pit. There's just no way I'm going to be able to drive this truck down here. There's just no way. I mean, I don't know if you can hear me walking or not. Just squish, squish. It's just mud. And I need to change tires and stuff, and I was going to do that over there. I was thinking, well, I'll have to do all that up there, but it's all mud over there. I couldn't even put a jack under my truck over there in the driveway. It'll just sink right into the driveway. So I don't think there's going to be too much working on trucks today. It's just not going to happen. So I'm going to put together the inspector's car. We'll work on that. She has a special name for it. She calls it the wedgie. Don't ask me why. I have no, I don't really understand it. But let's get started on it. I don't think my heat's going. I left my heat running last night. Nope, must have ran out of propane. I'll have to go switch tanks. Alright guys. There was a couple things that was wrong with this car, and she just had a brake job done on it. These are brand new brake pads, and she just had it into another shop, and they were telling her that the brake caliper here needs to be replaced. Some tie rods, all the tie rods up on the front need to be replaced and stuff. I found one tie rod that's worn out. I don't know, I'll look at them. The other ones, I might just replace them since I'm doing it, since it's got to have an alignment anyways. I may just do it. But I have fixed the problem with the brake caliper, and this is something that is very common. It happens a lot, and I thought it might be very interesting to some people out there. When you have a brake job done, here, first let me explain how brakes work. There is a hose that comes in through here, and it's this hose right here, and this has brake fluid in it, and there's a master cylinder up there in the front. When you press on the brakes on the floor of your car, that forces the brake fluid to come out through here into this little cylinder here, and it pushes this little cylinder out. It's a hydraulic system, so when the fluid comes in, this little ram that's inside here presses out, and it presses on the brake pad, which in turn puts force on this. Sorry about that, my phone almost fell. Puts it onto this brake rotor right here. It's this big round deal. And it presses the brake pad against there. And then what happens is there's two pins that sit up inside this caliper mount here. One on the bottom, one on the top here. And this whole caliper here moves back and forth. It can slide back and forth. And so when it pushes on there, it also pulls the brake caliper towards this way, which in turn pushes on this brake pad here. So it squeezes the brake pads against the rotor. And what is wrong with this one here, I took this apart, the brake caliper was fine. And I knew exactly, when I took it apart, I knew exactly what was going on. If you look on here, you can see, you see how it's all rusted right here on this brake rotor? But on the other side, it's shiny. On the inside, it's all shiny. So what that's telling me is that when the brakes are applied, it's pushing the brake pad against the rotor, but it's not pulling this brake pad against the outside of the rotor. So you're only getting a little bit of a stopping force. And it makes kind of a grinding noise when you press on the brakes and stuff. It was just a real slight noise. What it is that when you do a brake job on a car, these little pins right that are inside here actually pop out of here. And what you should be doing is putting grease inside these pins. Every time you do a brake job, they need to be putting grease on these little pins in here. And I'm going to tell you, nobody's done this. I did it already. I've already packed it up, but I thought I would just show you. We'll just take it apart real quick. Let's see. There we go. Pull the top one back out. And then see, this whole caliper just comes right off. So now we can just set this aside, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. See, there's a brake cylinder, and then right here is the ram that pushes in and out. This is what comes out to press on the brakes. But what I wanted to show is these pins right in here. See how these move in and out like that? They have little rubber gaskets on there that's supposed to seal them all up and everything. Well, over time water will get into them and everything. But if these, you have to pull these out, and you have to put some grease in there. I like to use anti-seize, and it seems to last longer than grease. And I'll put grease in there, and basically they were rusted and corroded, and these pins, I couldn't even move them. I had to take a wrench and break them loose. And I pulled them out, put them on a grinder, and grind them all with a wire wheel, and I cleaned them all up, stuck them back in there, worked them back and forth, and got them so they operated smoothly. And then I repacked them with anti-seize, put them in there, and now when this piston comes out, it's going to be able to slide this whole caliper back and forth. And so what it's going to do is it's going to push on the inside brake too. So there's really nothing that needs to be replaced here. And then you can just put it back on there. It's all set to go. I mean, they're brand new brake pads and everything else. These rotors are fine. There's no big matching on them. There's no scarring and stuff up on them and everything. They're not torn up. So it's going to make a little bit of noise at first because this is a lot of rust on here. So the first few times put the brakes on, it's going to make some noise on here and stuff, but after a little bit it'll work itself in. So real easy, cheap fix. It's just something that a lot of guys don't do when they do the brake jobs. When you go to shops and stuff, they don't take the time just to pull those pins out and just put a little grease in there to make sure that they last. And then what happens is sometimes they get so rusted in there you can't even get them out. And then you will have to replace those, because to get those pins, get this whole mechanism, you got to buy the whole caliper system. It's just a pain in the butt. So if the guys, you know, when doing brakes and stuff, and brakes are not hard, guys. You can do brakes yourself. Brakes are very easy. You saw I just took that apart. It's really nothing to it. You just put new brake pads in it. A lot of times you can do 1 or 2, maybe even 3 brake pad changes in a time that you need to do the rotor, and changing rotors are not that hard either. But you just put a little bit of Loctite on there. I used blue Loctite, so I know that I can get it back apart again. There we go. And you just put a wrench on that pin. There's a nut kind of built onto it to hold it. There we go. There we go. And now we have a working set of brakes back here again. So this is the tie rod right here. This is your steering tie rod. And there's an outer and an inner. This is the outer one right here. The inner one goes in there. And let's see if I can, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah, you can. You can see this moving right here. See this part moving, but this isn't. So that's the problem right there. Is there's a ball joint that sits down in a socket here, and these get worn out. This is a wearable part. This happens. And so this part needs to be replaced. An easy way to check it is you can grab these things, even if you're doing like maintenance on it and checking things over once in a while. If you have the wheels up in the air, no weight on them, it's really easy to check what the tire's on, because then you can grab the rim and get more pull force on it. But all you gotta do is just jiggle it back and forth. And you can see how that's loose like that. That should not be loose. Now, if it's not loose at all, you can also just grab this right here and turn it. And if it turns really easy like this, If it's just really easy to turn back and forth, that's telling you that they're getting worn too. They should be kind of nice and tight. They should hold their, not super tight, but they should be. You should still be able to turn them, but they should be tight. And these are not at all. So I have bought new tie rod inner outers for both sides, and I'm gonna pull this one off, and then I'm gonna check the inner one to see how bad that one is, and I'll probably end up replacing that one too. But we'll see. Alright guys, so we got to pull this pin out here. This has got a nice little pin on it. Usually it's a cotter pin that's all twisted and turned around, and usually got to break them off and then punch them out. This one's got a cool little pin on it. I think. It looks like it just comes out. Oh yeah, there you go. I like that pin. You just twist it a little bit and pull it out. So I need to measure this now. I need to make a couple measurements. And I want to try to get it really close. It's going to go in for the alignment anyways, but I want to make sure that I get it back to pretty close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back straight. And then I'm going to measure off a couple points off here. I don't know if I'm going to be replacing this inner one or not. So I'm going to be acting like I'm not going to replace the inner, and I'm going to do some measurements here. So I'm going to measure it from the flat here, right where this starts, and I'm going to measure it, and it's exactly 2 1/4. So I'm going to write these things down. So it's a 2 1/4 from this piece here, right here, to this flat piece. So I'm going to write 2 1/4. And then I'm also going to measure from this nut right here, or this bolt where the joint is, and I'm going to measure that into there too. And that's going to give me a different measurement too. Just to double check everything. And this is not going to be, you need to have a computer measure this up. It's 10 inches. You need to take this to a place, an alignment place where they have a nice computer and stuff, and they will, you know, they'll align your car and everything and get it perfect. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to spray a little bit of PB Blaster on here. Get this, let that work there. Put that on there. PB Blaster is the best stuff ever. And then what I'm going to do is try to put this wrench here up here so I can hold that. Let's see if I can break it loose. Need a little persuasion. So we're going to use a persuader. Well, I've heated it up a little bit. Let's see if I can get it to come off. There we go. Well guys, I have decided to just change the inner one. So basically up inside here on this boot there's a piece of wire, and it's like twisted, and if you just wiggle it around it'll actually break. There it goes. And then you can just pull that out. That kind of keeps this rubber boot on place and keeps it where it's supposed to be to keep everything sealed up out of there. And what I'll do is I'll put a hose clamp on it. Then we're just going to slide this out. And we just slide this boot back like so, and right there is your inner one. So now all I do is get my tool on there and I can turn that one off. So I have a tie rod tool that takes us off. So we're just going to take this off of here. So now what we're going to do is just take this one off. Take this nut off, bust it off here. We're just going to leave it together. I'm just going to replace both of them, the inner and the outer. I have the parts already. You could just do the outer. But we're so rusted up and everything else, and I'd hate to replace the outer and then a little while later the inner. And it was loose. You can see it. I mean, it's worn pretty good. It's a wearable part. This happens. So we're gonna just pop this nut off. Sometimes you can get them. Sometimes the whole joint spins. That's kind of a pain in the butt. Let that soak just for a second. And we'll just hit her with the impact and rip her off, hopefully. Got her. Good to go. And then what we do is, I use this tool here. I've had this thing forever. And that's what this is for, is you put it right in there, and you just smack the end of it with a hammer. It's like a big chisel, and it has a tapered end, and as it goes, it gets driven in there further and further, it pops the joint apart. It's what I use. They make different ones. There's pullers and stuff, but I kind of like this thing. I've had this thing forever. There it goes. You can see this thing here is, it's just out, gone. Melt that boot. Let's take it off real fast. There we go. Now I can get to it. There we go. Oh. There we go. There's the inner joint. And it's okay, but you know what? I just decided to heck with it. I'm just gonna do it. It's not terrible, but it needs to be replaced. So now we're gonna get the new one put in there. It's right here. See the difference in it? I'm putting Moog steering stuff in there, so you can see how, it's, you know, it's pretty loose, not terrible, but it's loose. This one here, I can't even turn it. Oh, there it goes. But it's real tight. So I'm gonna put a little Loctite in here. All right, we got our new one here, the inner tie rod fit. I gotta feed it in here. I looked for torque specs and how much torque should be put on here to torque this onto there, but couldn't find any. It's kind of a pain in the butt. You don't have to worry about it coming loose or nothing being lubed up because it's got a jam nut against it. It was almost tight. Yep, that's where it was. So now we'll put it up in there. Put our nut on there. And I don't need to use Loctite on this nut because it has a keeper. There's a cotter pin that goes through it. See, it has these little grooves in it, you know, line up with a hole that's drilled in that shaft. And then you just put a cotter pin through it and it keeps it from loosening. Not sure it's going to be the same size. Sometimes they don't. Yep, they are. Okay. Now I'm going to, it says the torque it to 50 foot-pounds of torque. Here we go. Now that's locked in. This side is done. Steering arm, it's all new on there and everything. No more wobbling and stuff. That's going to be good. Now I'll do the other side, and then I'm going to make a phone call, see if I can find some place to do an alignment quick on it. Otherwise, inspector will just have to do it when she gets home. So I'm just going to do the other side. It's the same thing as this here. The other side is not as worn as this side, but I was just talking with the inspector. I have all the parts for the other side. And I mean, the other side probably could make it, you know, another year or something. But then, thing is, you know, what happens next year? Then you got to do this again. Then it's going to go in for another alignment. You know, better off just to do it now. So we're going to get going. Oh, I still got to tighten up this wire tie back there. Forgot about that. Well, I'm on my last wheel. Checking all the torques. There we go. All the wheels are torqued. Everything's back on. Now I'm going to pull it off, and she asked if I could adjust her headlights. So if you guys haven't guessed it, what her birthday present is, tomorrow is her birthday. It is a set of LED bulbs. But here's the problem. I stopped at every automotive place. And I stopped at the chrome shop up there. I stopped everywhere trying to find a set of LED bulbs Well, I got her pretty much adjusted out. I think it's pretty good. I'm gonna go get her and ask her to look at it and see if she likes it. What her birthday is tomorrow, and being that I have tested a lot of LED bulbs, I thought a good birthday present would be a set of LED light bulbs for this truck, for this car, because she complains a lot about the headlights and stuff. So, and the thing is, these are those projection headlights just like what's in my truck. So I was actually going to get her a set, and I stopped at every auto part place. I stopped at the chrome shop, and these are 9012 bulbs, and nobody has them. I went on Amazon and I saw they had a set on there that would work for this vehicle, and I could swear it said it would be delivered today because I have Amazon Prime and everything. And I ordered them, and when I got done ordering, it said they'd be delivered on the 7th. So basically, I'm going to be giving her just a card, and you know, her birthday present is fixing this up and everything. And I'm going to put inside the card a picture of the LED bulbs. It's pretty simple, just to slap them in. So they're coming, but she's not going to get them till the 7th. So I'm going to go get her and ask her if this adjustment is good. And if it is, then we're all done here, and I will catch you guys later. I hope that everyone out there is having themselves a great day, great night as they're watching this here video. And if you're not, well, we can certainly just try this all over again tomorrow. I'll catch you guys later. See ya.